Have you ever asked yourself why this always happens to you? Mark used to ask that question more than he was willing to admit. At 32, he sat alone in his small, rented apartment, staring at another termination email. It was the third time in 4 years he had been let go. He shut his laptop in frustration and blamed poor leadership again. In his mind, he was simply unlucky. He was convinced office politics had ruined yet another opportunity. Mark truly believed he was the victim of bad bosses and incompetent coworkers. You see, back in college, Mark had been confident and admired for his intelligence. But real life didn't reward potential the same way. At his first job, deadlines slipped through his fingers. There was always a reasonable excuse. The client had changed requirements unexpectedly. Another department had delayed their deliverables. When his manager asked him to be more proactive, Mark became defensive. He insisted he couldn't control other people's mistakes. 3 months later, he was dismissed quietly. He walked out, telling himself the company had lost someone valuable. At his second company, he entered determined to prove everyone wrong. Instead, he developed a habit that cost him even more. When a project failed, he blamed the team's lack of competence. When clients complained, he blamed marketing's exaggeration. When reports contained errors, he blamed the assistant's carelessness. Responsibility was always somewhere else. He loved speaking about strategy and vision in meetings. But when outcomes disappointed, he stepped back, leaving others to deal with the mess. By the 4th year, his resume looked unstable and fragmented. Opportunities were shrinking. He felt the world was conspiring against him. One evening, his mother asked him a simple question over dinner. Have you considered what you could do differently? Mark brushed it off with irritation. He claimed the market was unfair and competitive. Yet that question echoed in his head long after the conversation ended. It unsettled him more than any criticism at work. His third company felt like a final chance. He was assigned to lead an important project for a major client. If he succeeded, promotion was possible. If he failed, the door would likely close for good. At first, everything looked promising. He delegated tasks confidently and presented bold plans. Then, the cracks began to appear. A team member submitted a report late. Instead of addressing it directly, Mark complained vaguely about it in a team meeting. Resentment quietly built beneath the surface. A system glitch corrupted crucial data. Mark chose to wait for IT instead of creating backup solutions. When the client requested last-minute changes before the presentation, he complained about unfair pressure instead of adapting quickly. On presentation day, the project lacked clarity and consistency. The client's disappointment filled the room. After the meeting, the director called Mark into his office. He asked one calm but piercing question. In all of this, what part was your responsibility? Mark instantly listed everyone else's failures: the late report, the IT issue, the client's last-minute demands. The director looked at him steadily. A mature professional takes ownership when things go wrong. Those words stung more than shouting would have. Mark walked out, defensive, but a seed of doubt was planted. In the following days, he noticed the team's energy shift. Trust was quietly disappearing. One colleague finally spoke honestly after work. When something goes wrong, she said, you always blame us. Mark had no immediate response. The silence felt heavier than any argument. That night, he reread the client's feedback email. For the first time, he didn't feel anger, he felt doubt. He replayed his usual sentence in his mind. It's not my fault. Was that actually true? Or had he just been hiding behind it for years? A week later, the director offered him one last opportunity. A smaller project with a tight deadline would determine his future. The other asked what would happen if he stopped blaming. Taking responsibility meant admitting he had been wrong. Admitting that terrified him. But then he realized he had nothing left to protect. Avoiding ownership had brought him here, to this very ledge of his career. At the kickoff meeting for the new project, he spoke differently. If this fails, he announced to the team, the first responsibility is mine. The room fell silent in surprise. No one had ever heard him say that before. When a deadline was missed, he asked about obstacles instead of accusing. Together, they adjusted the timeline. When technical problems surfaced, he created backup plans immediately. He stopped waiting for someone else to rescue the situation. When the client changed requirements, he recalculated instead of complaining. He stayed late, working alongside his team, sleeves rolled up. Some night, he returned home past midnight. The urge to blame still whispered in his mind. Each time it did, he paused deliberately. He asked himself what he could control, what he could do right now. For the first time, he did not run from responsibility. He leaned into it. Gradually, the team's attitude shifted. They began offering ideas and taking initiative. The culture of blame slowly disappeared, replaced by a sense of shared purpose. Accountability created trust. On presentation day, Mark felt nervous but steady. He knew he had done everything within his control. The client approved the project and extended the contract. Relief washed over him. After the meeting, his director gave him a brief, simple comment. You've finally grown up. Mark didn't celebrate loudly. He simply exhaled deeply. The transformation hadn't been about intelligence or talent. Months later, he was promoted to lead a small team. Not because he was brilliant, but because he was reliable. He no longer said, "That's not my fault." He stopped seeing himself as a victim of circumstances and became the creator of his outcomes. One evening, he called his mother. "You were right," he admitted quietly. Maturity had not come with age. It came the moment he accepted responsibility for his actions and his life. The fastest way to grow up is not through success, it is through ownership. Because when you take responsibility, you finally face yourself. And facing yourself changes everything. Thanks for watching. If this story resonated with you, let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more content that helps you build a better life. See you next time.